now available on e-readers everywhere. From the author of the Simp Trilogy, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. Manginas, they look like men, but they act like ladies. And the misadventures of Captain Save Holmes, Stop Simping in the Workplace. Learn what mistakes not to make with women and protect your job with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available on e-readers everywhere. When it comes down to job interviews these days, many employers approach interviews from an emotional perspective. And when they approach a job interview candidate, they often approach them thinking about someone they like. And like is a very dangerous thing when it comes down to the workplace because that shows, again, that this employer is approaching individuals from an emotional perspective and not an objective one. Because when you approach a candidate from a objective perspective, you're looking at them from the big picture and how they will fit into the organization in the long term. And when you approach a candidate from the like perspective, you're only seeing them from a short term viewpoint. And that viewpoint can pretty much cost your company resources such as money and, more importantly, time. Because when you lose time and money, you're not going to get the most productivity out of that employee. That's why it's important to see your employees from a panoramic perspective and an objective perspective because this person is an investment in your organization, and the money and time that you put into this person, you can't really get it back if this person leaves. That's why you cannot approach a job interview thinking about who you like, because who you like may not be a productive individual for your organization. They may be a nice person, you may get along with them, but when it comes down to work getting done, things are not getting done in an effective manner, and they're not being done in a productive way. So that's why you can't really approach job interviews from an emotional perspective, because a lot of people are friendly, a lot of people are charming, but when you look at their work record and their track record from previous employers, and then you look at, the things that they're doing, it pretty much is setting a pattern that shows you that this person is not a good fit for your organization, and they're not a good long-term investment for your organization. And this is one of the things I run into in many interviews these days, is that a lot of employers approach interviews looking for people they can be friends with when that's not productive for your business. Because every person that you try to be friends with is not going to be someone a manager can supervise, and more importantly, someone they can lead. Because in a workplace, people are not looking for someone to like, they are looking for someone who they can respect. And respect is something that is earned. And people who enter a workplace not looking to be friends, these are people who are more likely to look to earn respect from each other and learn to respect each other more so than people who are looking to be liked. People who are looking to be liked, they're going to enter a workplace and they're not going to understand things like boundaries, they're not going to understand things like formal authority, and they're not going to understand things like being a part of a team because they're too busy trying to be friends and trying to cross boundaries to understand that those social boundaries in a workplace are meant for their own good, and that in those social boundaries, respect is earned. And when people respect each other, they have a respect for their craft, they have a respect for their skills, and they have a respect for their teammates. And that respect is what leads to everyone performing at a high level of performance and performing at a level where they meet a high standard. But when people like each other, that's when all these boundaries getting crossed, and then people don't perform as well as they would because they're bringing their emotions into work and they're not thinking about the big picture of making sure that you are making the best quality products or providing the best quality service to your customers. That's what an organization does when people respect each other. They understand that everybody has their part, and if everybody does their part, we're going to be able to make products of the highest level and the highest quality, or provide services of the highest quality. That's what happens when people respect each other. When people like each other, you're not going to be able to get that type of productivity because everyone is bringing their emotions into the job instead of focusing on what their roles are in the organization and taking it from there from a logical and objective perspective where they see how everybody's part fits into a larger picture. And when I look at these interview processes, like group interviews and asking about personal things, this is not allowing organizations to find professional people who are willing to focus on things objectively. This is finding people who are emotional. And when people are emotional on the job, it leads to them turning over, and it leads to organizations losing money in the long term, because that employee who they invested money in, they wind up losing money on, because when that person turns over, that leads to a backlog, because whenever you have to bring a new person in, you have to spend more money training the other person, and then the team has to slow down as this person gets up to speed. That's why I do not believe in trying to go with what I like on a job or a project, because what I like may not be effective. What I'm looking for is someone who is going to be productive, and I have to be objective in order to get that type of person and work with that type of person, because when you are in an work environment, you can't look for what you like. You have to look at other elements beyond like. You have to look at the person's productivity. You have to look at the person's ability to produce, because we're not going to like everybody on the job, but we have to respect those people on that job if we hope to accomplish anything when we work together. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.